Evil Athol one here, guys, and today we got a start to the 4th anniversary with this particular event coming very soon. The Event Exchange ticket system. So should be showing up right after the maintenance. Now, I'm recording this before the maintenance, and I'm not expecting any big changes or anything like that, so the list we got is in the description below, so you can take a look at the equipment yourself, what it's going to be. But I want to list the equipment I think still holds up to this day that can be worth for you to go in. And do not worry, you're getting about 10 tickets in total. This is for 10 days, so there should be a good chance for you to get some of the equipment you really want. And you maybe have missed some equipment because you're a crazy collector who wants everything in the game. So this is your opportunity to get some of the things you might be lacking. Now, I'm not going to be ranking anything like this. There's only, in my opinion, one item that is kind of like a must-have because there's nothing else that can that compares to it. I think if you already know what it is. But let's just dive in and talk about these particular equipments. I'm not going to pick 10 of them because it's very different from person to person what is needed. So I'm just going to be picking a whole lot that I think are generally have some usage for you one way or another. But again, check the list, find out if it's something you can benefit from or something you can completely ignore. If there is one item that is basically a must-have item, I highly recommend going for it if you never got this one. It is the K-Producer's jacket. This thing is still so unique and holds up to this day. Most likely, if you're a newer player, you have seen a lot of long-time players or videos showcasing where they're using this particular one. Yes, you are a good girl. Even she knows it. She wants it as well. It is extremely good. It's not the stats, it is this particular passive that gives a 20% draw attention. Come here. Yes. Hello. It is wonderful to have you. So, it is the 20% draw attention that is incredible, mostly combined with the Light Shield plus Moogle that has 30% draw attention. Add in with a Moogle Charm, that you put in an accessory with 50% draw attention, you have 100% draw attention just by 3 items. It is an incredible the jacket, or cloth for that matter, that still holds up to this day because nothing else can compete with it. Right, girl? It's still very good. It is the one item I highly recommend to you get your hands on. Yeah, go easy, girl. Well, you got the attention. Shall we move on? And do not worry, the other items we're going to be talking about are generally just something I can recommend for you to look at if that's something you might be needing. They are not must-have, in my opinion. This is the one, by all means. This is the one you're aiming for. The rest are options depending on your equipment. Chocobo Reins. This particular accessory has a 20% HP increase, but also come in with a wind elemental resistance of 30%. You go for this accessory because you're lagging some wind elemental resistance that also gives a bit of HP on top of it. It's actually a pretty decent combo, and it gives some decent defense and spirit as well. I think this could be worth it if you're lagging a lot of wind elemental resistance. At first glance, the Microchu Cap, I might have been butchering it, doesn't look that impressive, but it does come in with a few things that makes it stand out. Can you decide what you want to do? So what is unique about this particular one, it has wind and earth elemental resistance with 20%, which is not bad. And I find earth resistance is kind of like one of those elements that is the hardest to build resistant towards. And it also comes in with a little 10% HP as well. There you go, good girl. I think it could be worth it if you're lagging some earth elemental resistance and some wind. And keep in mind, it's a hat. And if you don't have something like a Krylus Super Tier Mar, this is a great one to go for the wind and earth elemental resistance. I know I've been using it a few times myself in the past. It's decent. Wrapped Gift is also an accessory that has some usage. Kind of like the K-Producer's jacket, it has a 20% draw attention, which can be very nice. There are certain builds where the K-Producer jacket can sacrifice a lot of survivability. It could be some elemental, it could be some HP defense you really need instead, and this can be then put down the accessory with the Moogle plushie still utilizing in that way. So I still see this as a great accessory with good defensive spirit with a 20 in it. Now, if you already got one already, you could add to both of them in your accessory if you want to, but for the most part, the accessory are used for either def immunity and for some evasion build. Keep in mind we have 3 TMs that comes in with 25% evasion. The Colorful Lay and the Rico's TM also comes in with a 20%, and then we also have the Ring of Lucy that also comes in with 25% evasion. So generally I prefer putting them down there where I normally use the K-Producer jacket with the Moogle plushie instead. And when we're talking about tanks, for that matter, they normally have at least a 50% draw attention in their kit naturally. But it's different from unit to unit, but I still see this particular accessory still holding up to this day. Now, before you click away why I'm saying the Gladiator shield, I will admit it's maybe a bit of the nostalgia reasons behind this particular shield, because it does have a few things I do like about it. Like, for example, it has a little bit of evasion, granted it's only 5%, but it does come in with a counter capability. Chance to counter physical attacks with 30%. Now, many times when I build evasion units, some of the tanks I've been starting to use do not have any counter capabilities to hit back to help me build up some limit burst gauge. And this is where this light shield could start to play in, to have some usage. Again, this one is just if you have a little trouble with your tanks not building up your limit burst quickly enough, this could be a solid enough option. Now, the defense and spirit are still extremely low, but I do like that little counter capability in there. You could have some fun with it. I see this more as a fun shield you could go for, but you can easily ignore it and you will not be having sleepless nights around it. But I see some fun usage around it. So I will give a very small recommendation for this one, but keep it as a last thing on your list when you're going through the items. I see some fun with it. The Flax Shield, once again, on paper doesn't look that impressive until you take a look at what kind of water resistance it can give you, up to a 50% water resistance while still giving a decent spirit of 32. It's a light shield, but do keep in mind it also decreases fire element resistance with a 50%. I would go for this particular shield if I'm lacking and having a hard time building up some water resistance. Decent shield, but the water resistance is no joke with a elemental resistance of 50%. It can make a big difference when you need that kind of elemental resistance. Now the Imperial Headdress and Headband you gotta keep a little eye on, because we don't know so far when I'm looking at the information if this is fully upgraded. Originally you had to get the basic form. Yes, exactly, second. We're getting to that. Yes, we're getting to that, buddy. Don't worry. We're getting to it, alright? Yes, we're getting to it. As I'm talking about, the foot. As I was talking about, it needed fortune cookies, but I am expecting this is going to be the fully upgraded version that comes in with 40 spirit and 15% increase in spirit. This one I would go for if you have a really hard time getting any gear with some high spirit and with some spirit increase. It can always be useful for some healers, and maybe even some magic tanks that magic cover tanks that need to build up their spirit a little bit more. The raw stat of 40 is very nice, and 50% increase in spirit is nothing to laugh at. It's actually pretty decent for a free item. Yes, Sego, I know there are some other TMs that are better, but still, this can be good for somewhat mid-level newer player who's never got it. Jesus Christ. Your tail is in the way! Sickle. Well, we got the camera in focus, and now we can talk about the skull plate. Now, this is a helmet that comes in with a stats of HP of 400, defense plus 10, but HP plus 50%, and a wind elemental resistance of 30%. Once again, this is a particular helmet I would go for if you're lacking wind elemental resistance, or you're a little lacking some extra heavy helmet gear that can give you some more HP. Not too bad, I find it pretty decent and can have some usage for you. But again, it can also be easily ignored, but a 30% elemental resistance is pretty darn nice. Elven Gloves. Now it does come in with 2 elemental resistance of 30%, wind and light. Again, 30% resistance is not something to laugh at, it's actually pretty darn good. It does come in with an MP plus 20% and it is an accessory. So once again, if you're lacking some wind or light resistance, this is the one I can go for. And yeah, I just noticed there's actually a lot of wind element resistance you can get your hands on during this event. So if you've been liking it, this is a great chance to go for it. Light resistance can also be a little tricky, not the hardest, but it can be sometimes a bit tricky to build up. But if you like it, go for it. Now, when it comes to the Silver's Knight Gauntlet, once again, I can see some usage for it. It has 2 elemental resistance with 30%, and it's Ice and Light. Now, Ice, I would say, generally is one of the more easiest ones to build elemental resistance towards, but it also comes in with a combo of Light resistance. With decent defense and Spirit in there as well for an accessory, I can see some usage for it. So once again, if you're lacking some Ice and Light resistance, you can go for this one as well. The Jet Black Eyepatch. Not only is it extremely stylish, but it does have its usage. I will say, if you already got the King's Bradley's eye patch, yeah, you can easily ignore this particular one. But once again, if you're lacking some evasion and a little bit of survivability on the HP department, it does have a nice combo. 5% evasion is still decent, and it has a 50% HP on top of it with still 18 attack. It's a decent one, but if you got the King Bradley one, you can just say goodbye, sir. I will take the different eye patch, but still decent. Have you always dreamt of becoming a Chocobo rider? Well, then you need Chocobo Armor, and this one is actually pretty decent. It's a light armor with a wind elemental of 50%. Yeah, that wind elemental resistance is really good. So once again, if you're really liking wind elemental resistance gear, this one I can highly recommend. Its defense stat is still decent. Just keep in mind, light armor can be a little tricky to equip on units. There's quite a few units that you'll be surprised cannot be equipped with light armor. It's mostly close or heavy armor for most units, but there are a few, of course, there are units that can be equipped with light armor, but it can sometimes be a little tricky. You'll be surprised how little you use light armor for the most part. But the elemental resistance with 50% can make it very desirable to get your hands onto it. Crimson Impress. Now this one is actually pretty decent for an accessory. It comes in with 3 different elements up to 20%, fire, earth, and dark elemental resistance. Dark elemental resistance is one of the elements that can also be a little tricky, and once again, as we talked before, earth elemental is well in my opinion. But it comes in with 3 different elements up to 20% with some okay stats. For 75 and MP could be somewhat useful for something, I guess, but it's really the elemental resistance you're getting here. 3 elemental resistance for 20%. Yeah, I could see some uses for it. You go for it if you like in fire, earth, or dark elemental resistance. Now, the final few items we're going to be talking about are items that most people would ignore because most likely they have quite a lot of gear. But you might still be a little desperate for some gear, and I find these one to be a little interesting and not something I would highly recommend, but you can take a look at it. You might find some use for it, like the Aldore Police Medal. Not too bad base stats, 20 to attack, defense, magic, and spirit. Not bad. And then you have all elemental resistance with 10%. Now 10% is not a lot of elemental resistance, but it is something. It's across the board. It can be used on anything. So it has its usage. Great for newer players if you're liking some base stats and some elemental resistance at the same time. The Crimson's Coat. Once again, it's 2 elements that are fairly easy to get some elemental resistance towards, but it is still decent for fire and ice. You can take a look at it if you are still lacking some elemental resistance. Defense and spirit is fine. I do wish it had a bit of attack power, but it's basically a free item. I know. Oh, it's so great to have you here again. Oh, I'm so happy that you're coming here to destroy everything I'm doing while I'm recording. Yeah. Yeah. You are extremely cute and cuddly. You do know that, right? Crimson's Coat. You can take a look at it. But Fire and Ice is generally quite easily to build elemental resistance towards, so yeah. Now, when it comes to the Pyro Glacial Defender, you might be asking the questions. Has the cat finally driven me to madness and pushed me over the edge of the mountain we had climbed upon and fallen into death of a hell of insanity to recommend this to take a look at? Now, again, these items we're talking here, the last one is when you kind of like only have, when you have 1 or 2 tickets left and you don't know what to get your hands on. I can recommend to give it a look at these. The Pyro Glacial Defender may only have 106 in attack, but it does come in with a nice passive where it gives fire and ice resistance with 30%. 30% is still damn good. And yeah, I know Fire and Ice is pretty easy to get those element resistance, but that means you don't have to put it in a material or an accessory, and that means you can add some more killers in there, or some different kind of survivability that might be needed. But mostly killers, of course. Killers to do more damage. So yeah, I can see some of its usage. Dragon's Destiny, I'm a little... In one part, I don't want to recommend it, but at the same time, I kind of want to give it a shout out to it because it is one of those rare staff that has a little bit of evasion. It's only 5%, but back in the day when we didn't have much evasion gear, anything where we just get a little bit of evasion was a big plus. This can still have some usage in some shape or form, but you can take a look at it and take a look at your gear and you can see, oh, I'm liking that 5%. That could be a big deal putting in a weapon slot. I don't have any super tier Mars with a dagger of 30% evasion. It could be somewhat okay. Yeah, I could use it. It's fine. Fine for new players. Maybe. I think I'm stretching it a bit here. Yeah, I feel like I'm stretching on this one. But again, you cannot deny the passive it has is 10% evasion. Now, it's only females, but the problem is it's light armor only. It can put some limitation on some of the units you might build on, because most of the time when you build evasion, you also build draw attention, and you of course have the K-Producer's jacket. You would rather have that one on. So this one I'm a little unsure of, but the 10% evasion is still really good, even though it is still only limited to females, but it can still have its usage in some shape or form. I do want to mention it, at least it has that 10% evasion, but remember, it's only females and it's a light armor, so it's not everyone can use it. But it can has its usage if you're extremely low on evade equipment. I get the sneaky suspicion if I did not mention the Concealing Cloth, someone would come to my house and absolutely beat me to death. Well, what is so special about it? Well, this is a very unique accessory that has the ability to hide. You might have seen a few videos with some kind of like cheesy strategies where you see the unit disappears, comes back, and kind of like really F up the boss in one shape or form. It does also have camouflage where it decreases the chance of being targeted by 50%, but it doesn't bring anything else. It's really the hiding ability that makes it quite unique. I don't want to recommend it because I don't find it as useful as it has been in some shape or forms. I haven't seen anyone use it for a while. Which I will not deny that could suddenly become a boss, but this becomes extremely powerful, but at the same time, really? I don't know. It could be up for you. I see this more as a fun thing that can allow you to play around and experiment against some bosses, just see kind of like what the options you have around it, but I wanted to mention at least before someone comes over and beat me to death. Please don't. And the final item I want to talk about is the Lion Saber. Now, this is a weapon you most likely have seen when it comes to building builds where you need to seal certain elements, because this is a weapon that has two elements. It has wind and earth elemental in its kit. So for the most part, what is very typical is that you have some sort of a damage dealer that does another element. It could be fire, so you're sealing fire, wind, and earth in a single attack. Some bosses needs up to several other elementals to build up. Sadly, we didn't get the other one. I was kind of hoping we would get that. Is the Necro Dagger. It also comes in with fire and dark elemental, as I recall. You would normally see those weapons being kind of like linked up with each other in a dual wielder, so you're kind of like sealing 4 elements in a single attack, and if that attack also is an element, well, you're sealing up to 5 in a single target. But if you got something like the Rainbow Whip, you don't care about this weapon at all. But if you don't have it, that particular Super TMR, this can be a go-to, but again, is an extremely low priority to go for this particular one, but it can have its usage if there are some trials you have a little hard time sealing some elements. This can make a big difference and make some fights a lot easier. So yeah, guys, that was basically my selection of them. The final few ones are really pushing it, what I would recommend, but at least they could deserve a little look at, and you can pick or choose if you want to or not. Remember, you get around 10 tickets, so you have 10 items to pick around with. There are still some good items, And if you feel like there was a particular item I overlooked, tell in the comments below so everyone knows they should take a look at it. Remember, the link is in the description below so you can take a look at the full list. You can also go to the Moogle King now, most likely, and take a look at the equipment yourself if you want to. I just find it a little easier to look over here to get a full details of what the equipment can do. But tell me, what is your priorities for the moment? For me, it is definitely getting a second K-Producer jacket. I could see some fun potential with it. I might also go for a second warp, wrapped gift. Why do I call it warp? I don't know, but a wrap gift I might go for. And what else could I maybe go for? Let me take a look here. I could be interested in going for something like the Microchu Cap hat, because again, the element resistance, maybe. Yeah, I think that's the third one was really pushing it. There's not really anything else because, again, I am a whale, and that means I have a lot of super TMRs. And a lot of the super TMRs do make a lot of these items obsolete, but there's still some fun ones I could toy around with. I could still see some usage for. Yeah, the K-Producer and the Warp Gift, 100%. Those two I definitely want to get my hands on. So yeah, tell me in the comments below, guys. And hopefully this video gave you a few ideas of what equipment you could maybe go for. So guys, please like and subscribe for the channel so we can laugh together in the darkness.